Were you there, Martin, or you just?
No, I've been. Everything this year is a little bit chaotic with travel and just the whole academic space. I'm not sure what my next conference we're going to is. I think the goal is to submit something for CIDR, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess Apache Con is in September. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make that, but that's another one that I've been meaning to get to. It's no longer called Apache Con, but
commit, code over commit.
Community over code, I think.
Yeah, yes, something else.
Get something ASF related. Okay. I think we might as well get started. If people like show up a little bit late, we can always add them into the agenda. So.
Okay. So I'm Martin Loncaric. I guess I'll be moderating this time. Maybe we can start by going around the room and introducing ourselves. So I guess I'll do the exact same thing Julian did and calling you in order of how you appear on my screen. Yeah, just say your name and I guess where you work and what you're interested in talking about today. So we can start with Micah.
Hey, I'm Micah. I work at Databricks.
And any topics for the agenda?
No, nothing. Just here to discuss anything people have on their mind.
Okay. And next is Roque or Rock.
Yeah, Robert. I work for G Research. It's a fintech. Work mostly on Parquet these days. I don't have anything for the agenda. I'm curious if it's welcome.
Okay. Next is Talat.
Hi, I'm Talat. I'm working for Google. I don't have anything as agenda, just for listening.
Next is Martin Prammer.
Hello, Martin Prammer. I'm at Carnegie Mellon University, primarily involved with the variant side of everything that's going on. No particular action items, though. Just I guess a few updates about variants is all.
Okay. And next is Aditya.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm also with Martin from CMU. I'm also a part of variant teams, and I'm just here to listen.
Okay. Yes, yeah. And Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm also at Snowflake, and I'm here today mostly to listen.
Okay. Pratik.
Hi, I'm Pratik. I'm a part of Snowflake, and no specific topic for today. Just here to listen.
Okay, so I guess variant might be the only topic. I mean, I might chime in a bit later about asking about encodings, but let's maybe Martin, would you be the best person to introduce what you're interested in talking about today?
Sure. This is just a soft point of there's a whole pile of people working on variants across the Arrow and Parquet stack right now. And now that I'm not exactly sure what kind of centralization was going on prior to Carnegie Mellon's involvement, but we get that draft PR out for just the Rust side, and I've gotten a pile of just I've been reached out to by a ton of people who are like, oh, okay, we're all working on variant, let's talk about this, etc. And this is occurring on both the Arrow side and the Parquet side. And so just raising the point here, because this is probably the worst week to bring it up because Andrew's not here and a bunch of the other core variant guys aren't actually here. They're busy. So that's unfortunate timing on my part, but there may be cause for creating like something more structured or just something more focused for coordinating variant work across all of the different ecosystems that are coming up. Just as it's just been really surprising to see how many people have gotten involved with it, where I'm now tripping over names of committers because I'm just meeting everyone in the process. I'll see a GitHub issue. I'll see someone, all right, they're tackling this. Wait a minute. No, your GitHub username is slightly different than this other person's. Wait, no, you're just someone completely new. I have no idea who you are. And so it's been a wild west, and I'm really happy that everyone's been working on it. But there might be, is there sort of, is there currently, I guess, two questions. One, is there a centralized location or a centralized place where people have been going back and forth both on the format and some of the general implementation goals that we're seeing? So, for example, shared commonalities across builder APIs or setter APIs, etc., across these frameworks. If that exists, it'd be great for me to get hooked into it. If it doesn't, we may want to start talking about it because we're now starting to see these issues finally get addressed, where Rust, we're hoping to get the builder, I believe the builder API is done.
Is this like Arrow builder APIs for like creating arrays and things like that? Or
that'd be the Arrow builder. On a
which builder are you referring to?
Trying to bring it.
Is it maybe just a variant builder?
Yeah, the variant builder. I'm juggling. I'm mixing up what's Arrow, what's Parquet at this point. I think so. Even that's actually probably worth talking about, of making sure that we're unified in variant language across the whole spec.
Yeah, unfortunately, like this stuff can be a little bit messy. I think it depends on like what you're looking for and like what problems this is causing for you, is like trying to contribute, right? Like sometimes these things can be chaotic, and it might be, if you feel like people are like colliding on work that they're doing, you know, maybe whichever issues you think are colliding, like maybe suggesting a sync up and like doing it. There's also, I don't think Parquet has a dedicated like Slack channel or anything like that. I think maybe Parquet Rust, maybe Arrow Rust does. So like maybe, or maybe not, what's the other chat thing?
Discord?
Discord, yes. I thought maybe Rust has like either a Discord or like a Slack thing for
Right, I believe so.
RRS. So like maybe you can just creating a channel there for like people who really want to coordinate, and it might actually be a good action item to see if we want to start up a Parquet Discord, or like you can raise that to mailing list, like a Parquet Discord or a Parquet Slack to see if that can be like a better way of coordinating if we're really tripping over it. But like in terms of like common language between them, I would hope that the variant spec provides some common language there for like talking about variants. But I think all the libraries, even in Arrow, right? Like I know C++ and like Java have different vocabularies for the same thing in Arrow, so that just can be confusing. And if there is some way of unifying it, would be great, but I wouldn't like hold your breath or try to boil the ocean there.
That's fair. Yeah, there hasn't been anything so far. I guess thankfully for that. It's just on one hand, it's fun getting a lot of emails, but I'm now having to do juggling act. It's definitely a new thing for me. So this is mostly just sort of opening up the floor of, there's a ton of people who are involved in this. We may want to just make sure we have space for a variant focus group.
Yeah, I mean, I think mailing lists are always great if it's like not something that needs to happen real time, or like issues come up for discussion, and like it helps to go back to the Parquet mailing list as a common place, I think. But I think something real time, if like you're getting inundated with random emails about like status updates and things like that, might be a better form. But yeah, like if you want to think about it, like I would propose something on the mailing list saying like, or like just saying, here's a central place where we can talk about it in a little bit more real time than GitHub issues or whatever.
Okay, cool. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. That was all it from my end. It's been, I'm just having a ton of fun bouncing between these meetings, and everyone's like, oh boy, let's talk about variants. Like, this is one of the few times we don't have variants from someone on the action item list.
Yeah, I think we actually need to follow up because it would be nice to like kind of close it out and get officially adopted. And I think the long goal here is maybe some like a second implementation. I think the Java one is pretty far along. We might still need Bright support for Java, but like I think both C++ and Rust are racing there, or maybe race is the wrong adjective. But like,
It's quick.
What?
It's going real quick, and we're seeing one of the surprising things is people that have otherwise not been involved in any of the existing discussions that I've seen have started contributing. So we're getting tons of people just popping out of the woodwork, just addressing individual issues. And so that's why my original thoughts were, is the mailing list the right call? Because I don't even know if these people are on the mailing list.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I think,
We'll see.
yeah, just like clarity on like, I think the main thing is to keep clarity on whether issues are like, you're planning on working on them, or if like they're open for people to take. And it's great if people are willing to dive in and help take some of the things, you know, many hands make light work, I think is an appropriate thing, but just not duplicating work is kind of the main thing to make sure.
All right. We'll go fishing in the emails then. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. It's kind of the beauty of open source, right? People show up wanting to do stuff and you have stuff to give them. That's great. So like, yeah, so the only central stuff is like the spec for variant type. Like that's like been checked into Parquet format, I believe, but like that doesn't help you with work coordination necessarily.
Yeah, I believe some of the C++ contributors have also been ironing out exact points on the spec for the implementation side. I keep on seeing that emails bounce around, and yeah, I might end up, I'll probably just reach out to them directly just to see if they've got any thoughts, and just generally roll call the environment of who's actively working on it. Okay. Cool. Sounds good. That's it for my end. So, Martin, welcome to take the floor with the encodings thoughts. Unless anyone else has thoughts on variants. But.
Yeah. Did anyone else have thoughts about variant? Nope. Okay. Then I guess I'll just do my usual. Oh, Micah, are you saying something?
Yeah. So sorry. I just Julian mentioned that he's out for like the next 2 or 3 of these, and so he wanted me to bring up a moderator for next meeting, which I forgot to announce there. So I'm happy to try to take it up, be moderator for next meeting. I think unless anybody else would like to do that. I think Talad also mentioned he's out next week. So
Yeah, I'm out. And I also assigned to you as a co-host that next week you can enable the recording.
yeah, so I'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I'm curious again about the encoding proposal, like how to evaluate and adopt new encodings.
Yeah, so I shared something with the mailing list, which was like a rough draft. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh,
Martin.
maybe I missed that. Let me check.
It might also be in the notes. It's still not 100% there. So other like, yeah, like it's more details. I think like the main things, there's a couple of questions which still like are not fully fleshed out here, like, and need a little bit more community input. I think one is just like exactly which data sets we used. Like I went and looked for a bunch of open data sets and listed them. We should probably pare those down and like solicit if there's any other like shapes of data that we are not considering when we're doing evaluation, and like then just getting a standardized thing. I think the other main sticking point, but like again, this is an open discussion. So like I think I took a fairly opinionated stance, and there could be like other things, which is the need for like native language bindings for a new encoding, and like what that is. Like in the past, we've said Java has had to have like something that is pure Java, and there's arguments for and like, you know, for and against that. Like in some discussions I had over, you know, the last couple of days, I think encodings are a little bit different, but people have had a lot of issue managing on-heap versus off-heap memory when they talk about compute in general. I think encodings are maybe a little bit more scoped, where you can just allocate everything on heap and pass those through via JNI. I haven't looked at what ZSTD or like the other things do here, but I don't know if that like satisfies people in terms of managing off-heap memory, right? Like, so what's the issue is like if your actual decoder is allocating any memory, then like memory management in JVM can get painful because it's not accounted for in normal memory controls.
Oh, I see.
And maybe that's the
The
distinguishing.
garbage collector to be aware of how much memory is actually used.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, I think any good encoding or compression API should mostly write like mutable stuff into like a JVM data structure and have maybe nothing off heap, or
Right, and maybe that's the distinguishing line that people are happy with. I think there are some other like concerns just in terms about, you know, portability and loading dynamic, you know, libraries. But the biggest concern that I've heard so far is like, yeah, so like I think encoders can be made so that like they don't have to allocate memory off heap. But I think we can maybe refine that discussion, and not a lot of people have commented on the doc in general. So like getting some more input and trying to come to a consensus would still be good there, but at least hopefully we have a basis for here are concerns that we probably have and moving forward with that. So
okay.
I didn't also see the doc. Could you share the doc? You know, the
yes.
I do not have the link either.
Did it get blocked or something? Some people managed to find it, or maybe I gave it a bad title. But let me.
Maybe I just didn't check the chat earlier. Okay.
No, I didn't. Oh, well, it wasn't.
No, sorry, I sent the wrong link. I thought you were talking about notes.
I called it, yeah, it's called Parquet New Features here. It's this one, and it's from my personal thing. Martin somehow found it.
It got sent on the email a while ago now, I think.
Yeah, I was very long in doing it, and like last sync I said I'd get it out that night, and it got out. So and Mark, like, so I think Martin, specifically for PCO, I think like some of these things might be tough for PCO. So it might be worth like talking through alternatives here for people that really want to use like PCO. I think and I can think of a few ways of like mitigating some of these things for PCO. One is like if we do make encodings pluggable, I don't know if that would be sufficient for PCO. And there's two ways of making encodings kind of pluggable, which is one, some people have raised the idea of like actually linking to WASM code that can decode encodings. Another way is just having like a new encoding, which takes like a arbitrary string. I think the main concern with like pluggable encodings is compatibility in the ecosystem. So like my thinking here is that like anything that's like a pluggable encoding, we make it very clear that it's not officially part of the Parquet spec, and like users are on their own if they want to write things that are their own encodings. But I think there's several benefits for that. One is like, you know, encodings that are, at least as a starting point, like, right, and it gives people a room for experimentation and to say, hey, we're using this in production and we are seeing benefits. Let's really push to get it upstreamed, and it's a way of like maybe driving adoption. I think the other reason is it makes Parquet maybe a more interesting research platform for people who don't need to like hack Thrift than to like get encodings in there. And the third and the third thing is like effectively like donating PCO code, so it's under like a more governed thing if the community is open to that, and like that's a little bit of like that's a sensitive political like issue from a variety of things, but I will throw that out there in terms of like I don't know if that would allay a lot of people's concerns from like a new relatively complicated encoding. So, but those are some ideas that I had if like you know, PCO doesn't meet some of the requirements around that. I think yeah, I'll stop talking now. I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a little bit to add on a couple of those. So with the native implementations thing, yeah, I mean, I see multiple implementations as a pretty huge cost. I mean, it's both a lot of work, but also like in implementing in other languages could like make it pretty easy to introduce bugs, or also it's hard to make a fast implementation in some languages. Like if I were to implement it in Java, I'm pretty sure it would not be half as fast.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, I agree that there's trade-offs. I don't, yeah, we should separate them. I completely agree with some of those, and you know, my current company does a lot more with the JVM. I don't know how much we care about it from like, I don't really touch the JVM, so it's not like, I'm not in a great place to talk about what people feel are like requirements for production there. But I think those are great points, right? Like, and it's that duplication. Yeah, it is a huge cost. Yeah. I think the main thing to like move this forward for you is like trying to like come to the conclusion on like, is a single implementation okay? And like, hopefully the governance things can be worked out separately, and then it's single implementation and what that means for the JVM, I think, is the biggest thing. And we just need like a clear answer to say yes or no, and then the rest is kind of technical.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess the first thing I should say is I didn't find the doc you sent.
I linked it in I just sent it across in
oh, this last one. Okay, there we go. Thanks. Let me copy this because this is going to disappear if the meeting ends, right?
Yeah, we should put it in the notes again. Okay. It looks like somebody already did that, or maybe you did that.
I have a question for that. You know, maybe I'm missing one point. What does mean the single implementation? For Java, we have to implement in Java, right? Or
you can have 1,000 bindings to like a native implementation.
For encoding, for Java, it is definitely bad behavior because GNI is very slow compared with the the others.
Yeah, I think some of this you can batch though, right? So like, as a corollary here, like most people use native code to do Z standard decompression in Java. And it's really, I think the cost you're paying in JNI boundaries is amortized over like bigger blocks.
Yeah, you'd probably call to like compress or decompress a data page, which is usually like megabyte or more, if I understand right.
Yeah, like it's multiple K at least, right? Like I think 20,000 is the default number of values for like doubles and longs, which is
Oh, okay. Somehow I thought it was more, but
different engines have different settings. I could have the wrong value cached in my head also. But like it's something that people can tune also. But like,
yeah,
I imagine even at that level, I would imagine it's well amortized over JNI, because that's kind of what Z standard, like we're doing that level of decompression with Z standard anyways.
yeah.
We need to run the performance testing then, for those kind of things, because at least my experience with the Flink and RuxDB, it's very clear, when you use RuxDB with JNI and or not using the RuxDB and have a, the heap kind of state, it's approximately 100 times faster on the heap side.
Which DB? Sorry.
This is the another open source project, Apache Flink. They use the RuxDB. It's just the C implementation.
RuxDB, like
yes.
The thing from Meta. Okay.
What were you saying about the heap?
It's just they are using the state. They have to serialize the data and write the RuxDB, and there's another option, like rather than serializing data, keeping in the heap, and keeping in the heap and do the manipulation like the writing and reading. It's 100 times faster than the RuxDB interface because of the GNI.
Yeah, I think, but that might be a slightly different thing to lot. And right, so I think your point about benchmarking on Java to see how it works.
Yes. I'm not saying that we should not implement the GNI, but at least we should do some benchmarking to understand what we are losing.
Yeah, but because like with RuxDB, you're doing like key value things, and like so every key value is going through a JNI boundary, which is like going to be.
They're also doing batching. They just
okay.
Yes. There's a write buffer. You can send just one buffer at a time.
Yeah,
but I'm not saying that it's
I agree. We should do some benchmarking. I've done some primitive stuff with the Pico JVM bindings, and they're like, I mean, I've only been compressing and decompressing like moderately large chunks of data, like close to a megabyte at a time, but there it was effectively the same speed that I see in Rust. So that scale, I guess it doesn't matter too much. Okay, yeah, cool. And
Martin, do you want to?
Yeah, I can jump in. So I think with the document you shared, Micah, there's, I guess, two halves to it almost, where the benchmarking side it's a concern of adding new encodings, but at the same time, it's also tangential to it, where this is really more about the continuous integration of a standard set of benchmarking tools and benchmarking practices to make sure you're not seeing performance regressions, and really kind of more bringing in because there's been a bunch of internal benchmarks that people have been posting numbers of, but none of that's ever been really centralized and put in somewhere that you can really see impacts in a very public arena version. And so something like that, and cleaning up just all of the ad hoc solutions that people have had for so long into standardized set would be really useful. So on the topic of that, the moment your email went out, I started linking around to the academic circles, as we've been, we've got papers out with Wes that deals with some of these topics, and happy to share it offline. There hasn't been significant interest in trying to build out a Parquet dedicated benchmark set. We're happy to help reuse some of our existing components and sort of the patchwork out pieces that we've already made. This kind of touches on that building out benchmarks in academia is both difficult and thankless, unfortunately. So hasn't been a whole lot of interest on that side, but for any of the papers, and I'm happy to share particular ones if relevant, there might be something that could be cobbled together from existing literature out there anyways, because we've been like I've been talking about the taxi data set for years now. Love that thing. It's so fascinating in the unreal corner cases that it has. Some of the other data sets you suggest are also pretty good.
Yeah, and we just need to like narrow it down and come a set. I think so. I would say thank you if somebody coupled together benchmarks. I don't know if that's, but my thank you probably doesn't count in academic circles or in professional circles, really. But but yeah, like we definitely need that. I don't if like, you know, given how long it took me out to get the new just like a draft of a doc, which is half finished out, I hesitate to like committing to do work until I can make some more like professional bandwidth time for this stuff. But that's really what I'd like to see, right? Like we kind of narrow, we have an academic, not an academic benchmark set, we have a benchmark set that, Martin, do you not have edit access to the doc?
It appears not. I'm accessing it from my work email. Maybe I have it on my personal or something.
I thought there was like global edit link, which we weren't supposed to share, but maybe, okay, I accepted your suggestions. But yeah, like I think that's really what I think would be great to see. So it like limits debates, like here's our set of data, here's some scripts that help you run it in like various language bindings, and like you get out the numbers that you want from it, right?
Yeah, that is one of the unfortunate realities of the academic side is the usability scripts are almost entirely absent. We are racing to get this stuff done and trying to cobble it together for whatever works on our own machine. So we consistently run into portability challenges. And so that's partly why I haven't seen many people biting on the fishing around for engagement with it, because it's like, yeah, we already put out the papers, yeah, that's there isn't really too much else to be gained. So I'm tempted to scrape together a listing of papers that I'm particularly familiar with and ones that I know have attached to GitHub repos and start collating that and at least putting it out there to you as here is how people who've been involved with columnar storage formats have looked at this problem, and maybe from the intersection of it, we can pick out particular trends or anything that could be worthwhile putting into the benchmark.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like if, like please just like add them to the doc, or like whoever you think the best way of sharing them is. And like, even if you know some scripts that are like, if you have something for some of the data sets already, like some code is a better starting place than no code usually, even if it's like hacked together. Maybe that's so like.
Yeah, I totally agree. We should have good benchmarking tools. And I think sometimes like the generic benchmarking frameworks out there don't handle this well because they only care about performance, but we also care about like other metrics like file size at least. And you know, a lot of configurations that you want to be able to pass in for like how you do the encoding.
I think that's true. I mean, like for Parquet, we care like probably at least in like 3 to 4 modes, right? We care about file size, performance, like a CPU performance, and then this somewhat plays into file size, but kind of characteristics of your underlying storage also is an important factor, right? Like some people are running on object stores and care a lot about that, and some people are running on NVMe or like local, and those have some different characteristics. Hopefully not too much. And I was speaking to somebody from Lance who said like most of the time they see like if it improves stuff on object stores, it improves stuff on like NVMe. There aren't huge trade-offs there, at least for in Lance. I don't know if Parquet has different characteristics off the top of my head. Cool. Anything?
Well, I'm also curious about the pluggable encoding. So you mentioned 2 methods. One is put the WASM in the file, right? And
I think it'd be like linked someplace. So like you can download WASM from this like well-known slot, but putting WASM,
okay.
putting WASM in the file, I think would be bad just from size perspective. I don't know how.
Well,
I could imagine that gets, I mean, that might introduce even more security
yes.
risks.
Yeah, and that's why, and that's why like I don't expect. Yeah, that's why I think the pluggable encoding thing probably makes more sense to me, because then people can do what they want with it as long as there's hooks and as long as we make it clear from a interoperability standpoint that you're kind of on your own for pluggable encodings. Yeah, WASM could also be embedded, but like if you're embedding the same WASM in all your files, you're probably any like new algorithm you're probably doing has a very uphill battle to face in terms of size, I think.
Yeah.
The embedded.
For the,
Sorry,
sorry, do you mind if I
go? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So for the other one, so you're saying that users would provide some sort of like extension library, or?
Yeah, I mean, this needs to be built, but yeah, like, I mean, effectively, what goes in the actual specification is like a new encoding type, which is custom, and then that custom thing comes along with a string that allows libraries to like load it as appropriate if they're doing it. And again, this is just my ideas. I think some people have more dogmatic stands, but I think the tension here is really between interoperability and like experimentation, I guess, or like, you know, or just like niche or like specific use cases that like we don't want, that like people don't want to make it open to the world, or they might want to make it open to the world, but like it doesn't meet the criteria that we'd like to see in like a third-party dependency or something like that, right? Which I'd rather things be more open and like try to make compatibility a clear like non-goal of using this encoding. And I think that's a moderate take on it. Other people, I think, have different opinions on this.
Yeah, I think that approach makes more sense. There's a lot of, or I have a lot of questions about how that would work exactly, because we want it to be like interoperable. So is this like for each language? I guess you'd have to provide your own.
Yeah, like for each thing.
Library, every library would have, or sorry, every language would have to have like a Parquet extension library support built in or something like that to make this happen.
Or not, right? Like, I mean, that's one of the things for interoperability, right? Like if people just want to like use, and this gets up to like library maintainers, but like, you know, if most people want to just experiment with Rust, then it's sufficient for Rust to have these like bindings and just say, yeah, like that's why I think interoperability shouldn't be a goal. If we have like a custom extension point, it should just be like, you want to experiment, or like your organization has Parquet files that you get a huge benefit for that are no longer interoperable.
I see. Yeah, I'm imagining this being like, oh, my organization has decided this is beneficial and we want to use it in like various systems that use multiple languages or something.
Yeah, in that case, like we would have to like add the plugin mechanism to the languages that your organization cares about and like control.
Mm-hmm.
On this, I think actually, before I forget, going back a bit, yeah, WASM and security risks go hand in hand, and having been proposing some of this to just chatting about embedding WASM, we've actually found that it's pretty lightweight to embed it, which is one of the weirder finds that we've had. That didn't end up being a problem. You have to compile it down in really particular ways, and we have that'll be a paper coming out in SIGMOD of 26, I think. Jumbling dates. Once we've got a preprint ready, we're happy to send it around. But
Lightweight in terms of like just size of the WASM wasn't too
Yeah, the
bad.
size of the WASM, and it's still pretty performant. Like the main issue really is just security with it, as it's so difficult to create strong guardrails for this WASM module. And I think because of that, it would be very uphill to try and get everyone on board with embedded WASM for encoders, decoders. That being said, going back to the language specific encodings, decodings, that opens up the gate for encodings that are, or at least encoding libraries that are specifically tailored for language ecosystems. So one thing I can imagine is, well, actually, I don't know how relevant it would be, but for example, with Rust, you could imagine some particular flavor of the week, sturdy compatible encoding pops up, and it's like, all right, we'll just run a very quick. I'm not going to call it an extension type, but we might as well just call it the Parquet extensions, and we can't copy one for one what Arrow's doing, but at the same time, I think that is a pretty good blueprint for what you can do in this space, especially because it gives a runway for canonizing particular extension types and saying, look, this is something that a lot of people are having interest in. We now, as a open source community, are willing to take on the maintenance effort for maintaining this particular thing, which otherwise wouldn't have great support. And that jump between extension type and canonical extension type really helps avoid all of the traditional issues behind adding a new encoding to the spec. And it's like, oh great, what's going to happen to this in 2-3 years? Are people still going to want to maintain this, or is this just going to be left to rot? Like, it's really rough there, because you're asking for this perpetual time commitment that even the best intentions sometimes just can't happen.
Right. And like even that commitment, like kind of, and that risk extends itself for every like hop in like dependency tree that you have, which is why I like the idea of extension types, right? It allows for innovation, people to do it. Like if something becomes really popular, it can be brought formally into the spec, but at the same time, like you say, this is anything using extension type is by definition not something in the spec, and it's up to organizations to be on their own to support it, right? Like
the other half of it is that it also lets, at least from the Rust side, an extension or a Parquet extension that gets a whole lot of traction is probably just going to be it's going to end up becoming a popular cargo crate. And so that actually just solves the dependency management from that side. Now, for other languages, it becomes more of a challenge of how do you manage dependencies. But even then, there are still direct solutions that can come about when people are really on board with a project. And so I think leaning into the language specific ecosystems there to look for the distribution and even how things get refined for that extension type, really being focused on the language instead of worrying about how it interacts with Parquet as a whole. Like for what we just talked about with off-heap allocations within particular encodings, like that's just not a problem for Rust. And so any of the decisions that happen on the Rust side, until it gets brought up, shouldn't have to impact the Java side at all. It creates really clear isolation boundaries, which I am absolutely in favor for. Though I'm in favor of this, the Parquet extensions in general. So
yeah, so I mean, I think the next steps for like Parquet extension is probably a concrete proposal on the mailing list, or a discussion on the mailing list saying, hey, people don't want to put a concrete proposal, like consider we talked about the sync and say, I'd like to pursue this and like come up with a proposal, and then, you know, standard things apply in terms of like language by like, you know, implementation requirements and specification verification. But I think I hope this solves tension and like unblocks people that, you know, want to do things because, yeah, I think if we're not evolving, like I think we never make progress, and part of evolution is just like proving value in production environments, and like there's a chicken and egg problem there in terms of like if you can't plug something in to prove that it's there easily, then like you can't really say, and like and like you said, the maintenance burden, like people, there's a much higher bar if you're saying this is going to be in the spec and going to be there forever versus like
with an extension, we already see people are contributing. So actually it solves that egg too. So there's already, if you already have this, if the Rust side has an extension type that's got a pile of contributors off their own library, that's the maintenance burden right there. And so there's already demonstrated interest. And you can even tap some of those people to say, hey, look, we want to move this up. Are you comfortable changing repos? So maybe even that helps the runway. But before I forget, I believe, actually, this might have been in context to a different topic. Julian bringing up metadata for this, particularly for partition skipping as part of scans. So like, how would we populate the min and max fields of an extension type, and if a bloom filter is present, and so on? Like, what would these structures look like? I think something like that at least needs to be softly addressed within the proposal. It could be as simple as version 1 extension types, we don't even deal with it. Maybe there's interest in allowing for a rule set to generate a minimum and maximum value to parse bytes in some ways. Otherwise, just byte blob, don't care, not our business. Maybe the version 2 of it would have support for extension defined metadata.
No, I think you're on different topics. So there's 2 extension points, right? There's extension for encodings, which I think is what we were talking about before, and then like extension for types.
You're right. Yes.
And so extension types, I think Antoine had a proposal that was up as like a draft, and he never finished it up, but like that would be a good place to pick up extension types. I think there's also interest in extension types in general. This came up I also with some people that I happened to meet recently, like, so like I think min-max probably potentially have special meaning for extension types, right? But I don't know, that it's an interesting question. I haven't thought through that, but like that, I think, again, I think the extension type we can ping Antoine again on, and he is probably low on bandwidth, but like if somebody else wants to take that up also, but like I think there's probably enough interest from various people to like see that through. It's just a question of somebody has to have bandwidth to do it. Extension encodings haven't like been like, there's no concrete proposal yet, so I think like the first step is getting a little bit more broader consensus there. I'm in favor, like the more I think about it, I'm in favor of extension encodings. I think like on the whole, I think they will make Parquet probably more vibrant than any problems they bring up, but people have different thoughts there, or could have different thoughts. Hopefully everybody just agrees with me.
I have no idea how I flipped that. Yeah, we did do the experiments with loss and embeddings for the encodings too. So that was on topic as well. It's just somehow I switched it. Yeah, I mean, I think there's almost, one could envision a skeleton framework that allows for every single component along the hierarchy to be extension based, which would be very cool and a fantastic research platform. But whether or not there's interest in swapping more gritty components out for extensions is a different topic. But I think even extension encodings for going back with, I think. Okay.
I think we should probably just make the most important and frequently extended things extensible.
Yeah, like the things that we have the most conversations on are really like the things that we want extension points on, to just say like, go have at it, and like other things can come along, right? Like
you can also just edit the repo, like
Right.
if you want to do really gritty research, yeah.
But it's not necessarily right. I guess sorry to like, this is a complete derailment. Like, are there any file formats that, like, I think Lance was built from the ground up to be a lot more pluggable. I don't know if more research was being done in Lance, Martin. Like, do you have a sense of like how people are doing research in file formats? Some people just create it from the ground up.
Yeah, so
I
there
guess-
are like, yeah, there are these other file formats out there if you've heard of like Lance, Vortex, and Nimble. Nimble is not really that open source. I don't know, it doesn't seem to have an arrow connector or anything. So to my knowledge, it's not very usable outside of Facebook. Lance, I think people are still focused on these lightweight encodings. I did ask them if they'd be like amenable to heavier weight compression like Pico and Z standard. And they said yes, but based on the structure of their file format, I wasn't immediately interested in doing that myself. It might happen, but and for Vortex, I am implementing Z standard and Pico encodings, and they are interested. Their format has particular emphasis on being able to do like point lookup of like a single row, stuff like that. So I'm building in some functionality that's more than just like pure compression decompression, but like finer pages, so that you can just decompress a smaller section that you need.
Yeah, and I think that's something we probably want in Parquet also at a certain point, right? Like, that's one of the pain points with Parquet also. Like, it'd be nice to apply that to like any new encoding that we do, where you can say like break it up into like 256 values or something like that, and have indexes. There's probably other ways of doing it as well. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I guess those are the ones I know about. I don't know Martin P. Also, I don't know if you have a view on this or not, or like, it's kind of. I think, or is that a good summary?
That was a fantastic summary. At this point, I'm other Martin. So that was very well apt. That covered everything that I would say. There's been some, because I guess to talk about, we have this paper out and we're now kind of trying to see what would be the best place to fit this embedded Blossom. And there's been some chat, but it's also that a lot of these file formats are also prioritizing, like Lance, for instance, has effectively a catalog built into it in a soft way. It doesn't extend as much into the feature set that Iceberg provides, of course, but Lance does have this express intent of containing multimodal data. And so you can just shove it all in and it's fantastic for AI-related workloads. Because there's a whole lot of other interests going on, there's big questions of what's important for these specs and what do they want to prioritize. And so, yeah, what Martin said was fantastic. That really put the needle in of exactly what these formats are all focusing on. Don't really have too much to add from that. Broadly, just thinking about it, yeah, having an extension to encodings, off the top of my head, I don't think I'm not actually aware of, aside from obvious contenders, I'm not sure of anything that's been chatted about in the background for particular extensibility, but I think that also just touches on the realm of it's so difficult to see what encodings are going to be like 2-3 years out from now. Anyway, so having there's no way to future-proof a system, but at least being able to handle that more fluidly is definitely going to be a boon.
And we can both be Martin for the record.
Yeah. It's got to be some way. Hopefully we see a lot of you, and we'll get, if we have to check with both Martins every single time, maybe it will get a little bit annoying. But great, yeah. great to see you guys. Like, are you looking at deploying Pico within like your employer, Martin, or like is it something, or is it just like? This is just curiosity. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, that's also fine. I understand some of this is confidential.
We are using it for some things. Like we have a lot of data, so
Yeah, I can imagine.
but Parquet would make it more convenient.
But like, and you guys like use Parquet in different language bindings in general is kind of the idea.
Yeah. So like, I mean, for us, it's mostly all derives from like the C++ implementation because we mostly use like OCaml and Python, and OCaml just binds. So
I see. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I think
but yeah, we do have some like less common use cases that use like Java and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So like you'd really want to see like the extension thing across C++, Rust, and or maybe personally for you Rust, but like professionally it's C++ and Java type.
Yeah, it's a matter of like how much you want to support, right? And like it's kind of hard to adopt a Parquet file anywhere if like any of your systems can't read it. And I think Jane Street uses relatively few languages. Like most companies that I've worked at previously used like many more.
Right, and that's kind of like that's like the knob on like the interoperability versus pluggability, right? And like that's the exact problem.
But I definitely think that pluggable types would be a win. Like it would allow us to try this out and get more like see people using it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Not to vampire more of the time, but thinking about this, one of the core things that I think has been a pretty big barrier to extensions in the past, both encodings and types, is having a really strong set of examples for each language that you'd like. And so just demonstrating how to use extension types to create like a 128-bit integer, whatever. It's something that's not, that takes a little bit more than just a blank wrapper around, but just something that's there that has a very clear path of here's how to integrate everything with it. And almost making it in the form of a tutorial or so, like really putting the effort into strong documentation for it. Yeah, because then it makes it much easier to runway, and a lot of the headaches of people who don't have buy-in to the overall ecosystem, they just want a very particular feature, they can come in and say, all right, you gave me the tools to how to set this up, I'll at least try it. If it works according to your plans, then fantastic.
Yeah, no, I think that would be good also. So yeah, like I said, I at this point the only thing I can do is help like facilitate and like opine. So I feel a little bit bad about opining too much without doing any of the work. But I think if extension types might work for Pico, that's something that like I'd support, and hopefully we can like get it through Martin if that's like your main goal.
Extension encodings, you mean? Yeah. I think that would be a good first step. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the document. So thanks for writing that.
Yeah. Pratik and did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, none. Just listening in. This is all very interesting discussion.
Yeah, I was listening in too. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you for facilitating, Martin. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you then.
Take care.